Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, and back in for a little more Spooktober action. We're catching up, actually, today. Yesterday, I had a much longer work day than I thought I was going to have, so I'm a little behind. Got to catch up on yesterday's movie before we dive into today's double feature with It Chapter 1 and 2. I can't wait to get there, but that'll come on a little bit later on in the evening. Now, it's time to dive back in to our, newer horror creators run we're on. As you can see, we watched a whole bunch of classic movies, and we've had a nice mix of classic and new movies to kind of give us a different feel and vibe of creators and types of horror all month long. After coming out of the classic run of murderous psychopaths that dominated the 70s and 80s, we've kind of transitioned into the world of creators, just creating really, really good movies that happen to be really scary or really intense or thrilling. And we got two of those of Jordan Peele with Get Out and Us, and it's good to have Jordan Peele be what was right before what we're getting ready to talk about here, because a lot of similarities between Mr. Jordan Peele and John Krasinski. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat, we're getting ready to dive into A Quiet Place. And like I said, there's a lot of similarities between Krasinski and Jordan Peele. Both guys coming from the world of television, which, granted, Krasinski was on NBC and Peele was on Comedy Central, but you're on television and you get welcomed into a person's house on a weekly basis. There's a different kind of familiarity with people like that. So while they may not be like A-list celebrities, more people probably know who these guys are. And they were both coming from a world of jokes, and coming out of sitcoms and a comedy variety show. To hear that they're going to do horror, you're like, wait, what? Like, Jim Halpert is going to do a scary movie? Like, I want to see that. And I guess the fact that Peele had already succeeded on that kind of made you go, well, maybe it could be possible again. And once again, when we got that first trailer, you were like, oh, okay, Jim Halpert does know how to make a friggin' horror movie. And John Krasinski crushes this movie. And it's just interesting to see these two guys from a background of comedy come on with such fresh takes and interesting looks at the world of horror. And what Krasinski does here from a filmmaking standpoint is really, really impressive. And like I said, it was a fresh take. While we've gotten movies, specifically since A Quiet Place, where you play with the idea of silence, A Quiet Place created a movie experience that I had never personally had before, where you go in and you could literally hear like a pin drop into a pile of hay, which would make almost no sound, and you would hear it because it was dead quiet in the theater, man. Like I said, when that first trailer came out and you were like, oh, this is what's going on, and the fact that it's a known commodity in Krasinski and his wife Emily Blunt, who's also in the movie, there was a lot of buzz for this. And I remember going, man, open night, packed house. You're talking about back in the day when you could have like 100 people in the theater and everybody was holding their breath the whole movie. If someone moved or coughed or sneezed, or one guy like put their cup down but like dropped it so it made like a clang type noise, everybody jumped and was like, shh, like, you make noise, do you see what happens? And it's an experience like I've never had before, and so much of that is on the shoulders of John Krasinski's direction and filmmaking, which was wonderful. I love how he shoots this thing, the way he's able to bring the camera and give you different looks and vibes from different angles or vantage points, and the way he's able to get in close so you really feel it. A lot of these monster horror movies steer clear of the monsters for good stretches of the movie, and Krasinski leans into them. I mean, they open the movie, but he's able to put you in tight quarters with these things, where you get a scene with Emily Blunt where she is hiding behind like a little mini waterfall of water that's coming down in her house from a burst pipe, and she's clinging onto a baby, and one of these things is freaking like right here, man, and right as things are about to like go down, that's when another noise happens, diverts the attention, because these things are blind, they all operate on hearing, and off it goes. But like, you get moments like that, moments like the corn container thing. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know what you call a silo, I think. Like that moment, edge of your seat stuff, and the fact that like noise is what triggers it. It brings everybody up and everybody's quiet in the theater, and the scares are all earned. There are no cheap scares in this, because while the camera work, I think, really kind of amplifies what you're looking at from, what the different type of tracking shots that he does. His use of sound is tremendous. Like I said, the opening scene, Krasinski's not pulling any punches. He kills the 4-year-old child of the family. The first 5 minutes gets taken by one of these things. He has a toy, they take it away, everybody's feeling guilty. Personally, I think Krasinski's character, Lee Abbott, should feel the most guilty because he after taking the batteries out so the thing couldn't make noise, he left them right next to him. So when the sister gives the space rocket to the little kid, he just grabs the frickin', he knows batteries, 4 years old, puts them in, thing makes noise. And the genius of it is, the daughter is, hearing impaired. So it happens from her point of view. She's walking this way, and she just sees Krasinski spin. You see his face, and you know it's coming, but everything's dead silent, and then it picks back up. And the way that Krasinski's able to do that creates really, hold your breath moments. And when he's sprinting for that kid, there's part of you that's like, everything's gonna be fine. It's a 4-year-old kid. Oh, no! And right there, the stakes were set really, really high. And that's the other thing that really adds to the tension. Much like Game of Thrones, you felt like nobody was safe. And then at a point in the movie, you're like, oh, maybe they're all safe. And even if they all did survive to the end of the movie, I don't think that would have been a problem because you're still able to operate and do all the things that you need to do to make people jump and be scared in this movie. And outside of just the sound mixing and the use of sound or loss of sound, specifically when you're dealing with having to be quiet or a character that, is hearing impaired, Krasinski's usage of scoring is really good too, because like I said, scoring can cheat you into a jump. And Krasinski doesn't do that. He utilizes it where he needs to kind of pull you in, and then he drops it out when them scares are coming. And all the scares are earned, and the quiet is really the thing that pays off the most. And behind sound direction and filmmaking from Krasinski, and a really, really phenomenal story. Krasinski's involved in the writing, but this one's coming from Brian Wood and Scott Beck. They do a phenomenal job, man, because like I continue to say, the key to a good horror movie is the key to any good movie. You have to get me emotionally invested in these characters. And the heart of this movie is big. I mean, it is a family story, and Krasinski, a genius to cast himself and Emily Blunt, which some could say is self-serving, but having a married couple, and a married couple that the director can trust to really lean into things, really pays off when you're playing two parents in this type of a movie. And that family unit and the emotional weight that you have right from the very beginning, with the stakes being set as high as they are with the loss of your youngest, gives you moments where you get to a build where Krasinski, spoilers, has got to sacrifice himself to save the two kids. And I sobbed in the theater, and I rolled more than a few tears last night when I watched it. And it's because the emotional beats and the emotional center of the movie is so solid, because the writing is so good besides the scary stuff. The human story in the movie, the family story, is a really good one, and there's a lot at stake. Like I said, you'd already seen the loss of one kid. Now Emily Blunt's pregnant. She got a baby on the way. And those stakes add so much and just set up a wonderful world for the actors to play in, and the performances are genius, man. I mean, Krasinski's wonderful. Super impressive to not only be like a first-time director in the world of horror. I think he had done one full feature before this. But then to also be acting in that, man. The trust you have to have in your DP, and it's not like he's, had a bunch of different DPs and has a trust with multiple different people or one person in particular. You got to find that trust to be able to know the vision is the same. And this team, creatively in whole, really had one finite vision, and they ran with it, and it pays off. And to be able to act on top of all of that is super impressive. And the performance you get from Krasinski, like I said, is really, really good. You feel everything in this movie. That's one of the things. You take away dialogue and sound, you got to feel things. And Krasinski makes you feel things, specifically at the end of the movie. I mean, he has a wonderful conversation with his son, played by Noah Jupe, where they're talking about that day and the fact that his daughter Reagan, played by Millicent Simmons, was the one who gave the kid the rocket again, even though Krasinski's character Lee left the batteries in reach that lead to his death. So she's carrying a lot of weight, and like, they had this conversation about, Noah Jupe's like, do you still love her? Do you blame her? And Krasinski's reactions are so genuine And the build is so wonderful that by the time with the tension and what's the stuff driving to the edge of your seat, when Krasinski gets to the point where, spoilers, he's got to sacrifice himself, that moment is so raw and so impassioned. I mean, the guttural yell he yells out to save the kids, it's so genuine. It breaks your heart when you're watching it. And that's just, like I said, sound writing, directing, filmmaking, crafting, and execution on the performance. And you want to talk about execution on performance? Emily Blunt is the MVP of this freaking movie. Yes, I know John Krasinski got us most of what we have there by being the filmmaker. Blunt's performance is spectacular, dude. Like, you want to talk about feeling? When she steps on that nail, man, like, that nail goes through your foot. Her reaction and response and performance is so spot on. Like, you feel every inch of pain on her face. And then just to dial up, like, the tension right after that, like, she drops something, she screams, she knows these things are coming. Like, the genius to, like, set a timer, put it somewhere so it can be a distraction, and then hide and just pray that this thing doesn't find you. Like, edge of your seat stuff. And then you get the freaking bathtub scene, man. I mean, you have a woman who's in labor, that's been clearly induced by stress and tension from the day, most stressful day ever. And she's hiding in a bathroom. She knows these things are coming because she can't be completely quiet as she's going through contractions, although she does a phenomenal job of biting her tongue most of the time. And you get to that moment where, like, the blood is starting to form in the tub itself, and like, she's on the verge of having to, like, push this kid out of her body. And the freaking creature is right outside, and then those freaking fireworks go off, and she lets out a guttural scream. The two of them, both of their screams, you feel them in your soul, man. I almost screamed out loud with her, though. I was, like, so in. Like, her performance locks you in a way where everything is, like, elevated even more. And then you get the scene with the baby and the water and the creature right in front of her face like this, and you're just, like I said, her performance is spectacular. You can just go scene after scene after scene with Emily Blunt. Unbelievable stuff the entire way. But these two kids, let's be real, are like secondary big-time MVPs. Noah Jupe gives you fear like you've never seen on a small kid's face before. Like, it's so genuine. The moment when they're running and that creature is attacking and eating the old man, and Krasinski's got to cover his mouth, the look in that kid's eyes, like, would scare me to death, let alone the kid. And his delivery on all that stuff, and then being brave when he needs to. Again, one of those conversations between him and Krasinski, the chemistry, obviously, between Krasinski and Blunt is amazing, but their chemistry with the kids is tremendous. And, like, the scenes that Jupe has with Krasinski are so good. But, like, when he tells him to be brave and man up, like, I just like the way that he handles all that stuff. And then Millicent Simmons, talk about a genius move by Krasinski, like I said, to use an actually hearing impaired person to play that role. It added an authenticity level, much like, the idea of a husband and wife with Krasinski and Blunt. Like, the performance you get from Simmons, I don't think a hearing-abled person could have given you that same performance. And despite, on top of just, like, the fact that she is hearing impaired, her performance is amazing. Like, the guilt that you feel that she feels. Again, like I said, you feel everything in this freaking movie. But the guilt and the weight that's on her the whole movie for feeling responsible for her brother's death, and how she has dealt with that, and how the family has dealt with that, and in turn, because Krasinski is where he is and is more worried about just keeping the kids safe as often as possible, and like taking her out is risky because she can't hear things. So if they get separated, if one was coming, she wouldn't know. That's what Krasinski's trying to do, but she sees it as like, he tries to avoid me all the time because I'm responsible for my brother's death. And when you get to that scene where Krasinski tells her, through sign language before he sacrifices himself, that he loves her, oh my God, dude, like, that moment is just unreal. And then same thing in the corn silo. I think it's a silo. I hope I'm getting that right. But, like, her response and her delivery, saving her brother, knowing that, like, she's already lost one, those moments are just performed excellently, hearing impaired or not. And like I said, then it being like that, and that being the character's case, it just added a level of authenticity that, like, really created something special, and I really hope we get to see more from Millicent Simmons, going forward. But between the direction, writing, and acting in this movie, it was a knockout. And like I said, it just sucks that we gotta wait till April 2021 when we were this freaking close to getting A Quiet Place 2. I love this movie. I love what John Krasinski's vision was and how he crafted and made it. And I can't wait to eventually see his second go. But now, I want to know everything you guys are thinking about A Quiet Place. Are you fans? What was your first experience like? Was it in a theater or was it at home on your couch? Like I said, this is one of those movies where that experience is like you just wish you could recreate that first experience watching it. Because it really is something that you can't ever capture again. I mean, I still feel everything I felt that first time around. It's just, I know it's coming, so like it's not as intense as that first time. So let me know what your first experience was, and if you didn't like the movie, let me know that too. I'd imagine that most people probably dug A Quiet Place, but I know not every movie is for every person. So no matter what you're thinking, good, bad, indifferent, leave it below down in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you do, you want to come hang out with the C-Man the rest of Spooktober, want to catch up on other Spooktober things, jump over there, man. Show a little love, support for the channel, for the old C-Man. Join the C-Maniacs. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, which will be it, chapters 1 and 2, a little bit later tonight. For the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace! Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.